Now onto the second half of the beat, the rain section, also produced by Starboy Outtatown. The first thing I remade were these main chords. They may not look like chords, but they are. Now I'm going to show you why. Here's with no effects. So what we got going on here is 2 square waves, both with 4 voices of unison on the first and 5 on the second. Detune turned down a little bit. But you're going to notice our oscillator B is pitched up 7 semitones. But what is 7 semitones? 7 semitones is a fifth. So while I am playing a C here, it is also playing a G. So this synth is playing a fifth no matter what note you hit. I've got some fine pitch modulation going on for both our oscillators. This LFO1 is controlling the fine pitch, adding just a little bit of a wobble to our sound. As you can hear, pretty subtle. But the main thing we got going on here, as you can see, is a low pass filter with our cutoff being modulated by the envelope 1. Decent amount of resonance again creating that kind of vocally sound. Reminds me a bit of the Kahoot synth, if you know what that means. But yeah, just has a bit of a dive with the cutoff. The resonance gives it a nice kind of vocally sweeping motion. Then for effects, I just started by running it through a multi-band compressor. Cleans it up, followed by a low cut and a high cut with our EQ. And another low pass filter, again, kind of tamping down on the sound. And finally, just a chorus for some additional width. Next thing I added was this 8-bit lead. Here's how it sounds with no effects. Fair warning, it sounds bad. A little ear hurty. What we got going on for the main elements is just a triangle wave from our basic shapes waveform. Our LFO1 is controlling the fine pitch again, giving it a little bit of a wobble. And it is also adding a little bit of movement to the level of our sound, kind of causing it to pulse up and down. We are also FMing our oscillator A from our sub. Our sub is pitched up 4 octaves, so we're just playing a really, really high tone with a sine wave. That's how it has that kind of like gross, just like, but I'm doing that for a reason. It's not, there's a method to the madness. Start by running that through a down sampler, which is just a bit crusher if you don't know, using this pre-filtering just to kind of get rid of some of that extra high end. As you can hear, already a lot better. Not quite where we want it yet, but we're starting to get there. Then we're boosting our high end with an EQ, cutting our low end. Then the post-processing is where a lot of the magic happens. Started by EQing it a bit to clean it up. Then I used a bit of a hefty wave shaper to distort it. Now here is the other magic. I'm using another bit crusher, this free one called Crush. Very cool. I have our dry signal turned all the way down, wet signal all the way up. Downsampling at 18%, crushing at 18%, and our drive at 24%. Also, I have a bit of a high cut filter going on to kind of make it a little less harsh, around 17K. Next, we're just running that through an OTT to clean it up. Followed by another EQ, getting rid of our extra yucky low end, and this kind of resonant frequency around 2K. Last but not least, we got our reverb. And yeah, that is that lead. Next thing I added was the square bass. Very proud of this one. I think this one is actually perfect. Made this in Serum. Here's how it sounds with no effects. Another one where the post-processing is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. We start by just taking a square wave with 3 voices of unison, turned down a little bit. Same dealio with our low-pass filter. Again, you're probably sick of me saying this, but we have a low-pass filter with our cutoff being modulated by the envelope 1. Decent amount of resonance to give it that plucky sound. And we have our noise oscillator enabled with the level turned down. We're FMing our square wave from that noise oscillator to give it a bit of a grittier tone. Then we start by running that again through a downsampler, starting to get to that bit crushed sound, followed by a multi-band compressor again to clean it up. And then an EQ to sculpt off some of the extra high end. Now for post-processing, here is where the magic happens. Using this Crush plugin again, downsampling at 18%, but the main thing is we have our Crush, which is what gives it that kind of glitchy sound turned all the way up to 58%. It introduces like some kind of like harsh, like sample quality degradation that gives it that kind of like crushed, it's why it's called Crush. As you can hear, but that really is how you get that original tone. Also pairing that with some drive as well, which is distortion. Next thing I added was this pluck from the first half again, but transposed to be in the key of the second half of the beat. Same deal going on as the first time I talked about it, so I'm not gonna break it down again, same sound. Then finally, the last sound I sound designed for this is this other pluck. Here's how that sounds with no effects. Super simple, very similar again to a lot of the other sounds in this. We have a triangle wave and a square wave. A square wave is pitched up an octave to provide a higher layer to our sound. Both have some unison, and huge surprise, we have a low pass filter with our resonance turned up a lot and the cutoff being modulated by an envelope, causing a plucky sound. Again, very Kahoot core. I used some bend minus on our oscillator A to kind of shape the sound, give it that kind of bend minus sound I talked about before. It just kind of changes the timbre a little bit. Then I just added a chorus for some extra width, and an EQ to boost our high end and cut our extra low end. Now we add the 808s. Again, got our Z 808. Then during the last 3 notes of the section, I layered in this tread 808. I used a low cut filter to kind of make it seamlessly blend with the Z. Then finally, we have our drums. Same hi-hat, I shortened it a little bit in the sampler, then just our no-lie snare. And yeah, that is how the whole beats, both beats from Run by Ken Carson is made. And yeah, that is everything for both beats.